Hey there my friends, Eric Andreas, your guitar sage here, and today I'm going to give you some tips on how to choose an acoustic guitar. So this is a question that I get a lot from new students, a lot of folks from my Unstoppable Guitar System course, and folks on Facebook, and just everywhere. Folks are asking me this question, have asked me this question for years. So I wanted to make a quick video for you to go over some basics without getting too heady and too theoretical in regards to woods and that sort of thing. Now, we'll talk a little bit about woods, but I have another philosophy that I want to share with you. Now, before we go into talking a little bit about woods, the first thing that I tell folks to do when they're picking out an acoustic guitar, so this would be a first guitar or second guitar, doesn't matter, but the first thing you need to do is you need to consider what your budget is, okay? The reason that I say that is there is no reason for you to be looking at a $2,000 Taylor if you've got a budget of $500 or $600, $700, okay? Or maybe you have a budget of $100, it's okay. I have $100 guitars on this wall. I've got much more expensive guitars on this wall. So it just depends on what it is that you're wanting to do, and sometimes specific instruments don't add up in regards to their cost to how that guitar is going to sound. Okay? So I say that as a caveat up front because there's a lot of folks that will say, well, you need to have a Gibson or you need to have a Fender and you need to spend this much money if you seriously want to have a good guitar. And that is poppycock. I have Gibsons, I have Fenders, I have no-name guitars, I've got all sorts, okay? And I keep them, I play them for different reasons. Now, it is true that the more that you spend on a guitar, for the most part, you're going to be getting higher quality woods, typically more handcrafted, more time is put into it, higher quality parts, and that sort of thing. With brand names, typically, at least it used to be like this, it's less like this now, where you could buy, let's say, a Fender, and it would be a legitimate Fender, made in America, and the whole 9 yards. Now things are different, and there's different brands of Fenders, or not different brands, but they're made in different places in the world, and each one has a different quality to them. So we're not going to get too bogged down with that. Let's go back to budget for a minute. Bottom line, there are two main things that you need to understand when you're purchasing an acoustic guitar. The two things that you need to do is you need to be listening to sound and playability. Okay, we can call these different things, but basically the sound that's coming from the guitar, how does that sound compared to other instruments? And how does that guitar feel in your hands, especially in regards to other instruments, okay? So the reason that I say to other instruments is you may look at a guitar on the wall in a music shop and you may fall in love with it because of the way it looks. And there's a lot of emotion that goes into purchasing a guitar, and you may think that that guitar is a great guitar because it's shiny or sparkly or has a brand name that you're looking for or something like that. Be very careful in regards to that, because really what we're looking at is we're looking at tone, what does the instrument sound like, and what does the instrument feel like in your hands. And everybody's different in regards to this. Some folks like guitars that are darker sounding, some folks like guitars that are brighter sounding. Some folks like the strings to be higher, some like them to be lower. So, going back to our budget, let's say you have a budget of $500. What you want to do is you want to go into the store and you want to play every guitar that catches your eye. And what I mean by that is if it's a steel string and you see a nylon string, obviously you don't want to be picking a nylon string unless that's something that you're in the market for. So play all of those guitars that are in your budget, and don't worry about the price if they're within your budget, and find the instrument that resonates with you. Okay, don't worry about right and wrong. It doesn't work that way. This is art. So what's right to one person is not right to another person. If that guitar sounds great and feels great in your hands, amongst those other guitars, you gotta have some reference. So you have to try the other guitars. Then you're gonna narrow it down to 2 or 3 guitars, and then ultimately you'll probably be drawn to one specific guitar. Okay? Now, in regards to playing guitars outside of your budget, it may not be a bad idea so that you have some sort of education. So I talk about this in ebook 1, what I call the ebook 1, the Ultimate Guitar series. You can check that out. I talk about this, and I talk about this in my courses and what have you. Basically, if you're trying these other guitars, it's going to give you more of an opportunity to understand what a $2,000 guitar might get you. Okay? So, two things you need to think about: playability and tone. Okay? Now, let's talk just real briefly about woods, because bottom line, we mentioned the workmanship. You know, what you're getting in a more expensive guitar typically is going to be finer quality tuners. Typically the frets, if you run your hands along the side of the neck, you won't feel any sort of snags or anything. That's finishing work. The frets will be even, so when you're playing, you're not getting a lot of buzzing and that sort of thing. Oftentimes, the nut and the bridge are going to be different qualities. Sometimes they're plastic, sometimes they're bone, sometimes they're steel, and typically plastic tends to be a little lighter in sound, depending on what you like. It tends to be on more affordable guitars. Okay, things like binding, this is called the binding, things like that are typically going to add value and ornaments and that sort of thing. But the number one thing in regards to price when you're talking about an acoustic instrument are the woods. And when we're talking about the woods of the guitar, we're typically talking about the top. This is what we've referred to as the top, the back, and the sides. Yes, we've got the neck, but the majority of the sound is coming from this part right here, the body. And more than anything, it's coming from the top of the guitar. So a lot of the more affordable guitars are going to have laminate pieces. Some guitars may have a solid, what we call solid top, which means it is a piece of wood as opposed to a laminated piece of wood, which is basically several pieces of wood laid on top of each other to make a top. And the reason that is less sought after is typically it doesn't resonate like a solid piece of wood would. Okay, so you may have a guitar that has a solid top and then laminate sides and back, or any combination thereof. You may have solid top and back, and then the sides may be laminate, or that sort of thing. So all different types, but bottom line, find a guitar that speaks to you playing and tone-wise, because at the end of the day, if everything's solid and you spend $3,000 for a guitar that plays terribly or doesn't sound good, you're not going to be happy. And like I say, I've bought $100 guitars that made me happy, and I've bought $16,000 guitars that have made me happy. So there's all different kinds of guitars that one can purchase, and just because it's an expensive guitar doesn't necessarily make it a great guitar. So think budget, think feel, think tone. Now, if you want to know more information about guitars and sounds and all sorts of that sort of thing and how to play it, check out the Unstoppable Guitar System. The link is below. You can actually check out what I call my Pursuit of Tone section, where I sit down with Greg Ellis, who is my personal guitar guru in regards to tone and amps and that sort of thing. Just a wealth of information. We did a whole series in the Unstoppable Guitar System. You can actually get into that for $1. So check that out. Very detailed section in regards to guitar. All right, if you need help with anything here, please hit me up on YouTube, on Facebook and Twitter and all that good stuff. I'm here to help you. Anything you want to do on this guitar, you can do. I'm living proof of that. I'm Eric Andreas, your guitar sage. Don't trust the man and play your guitar. See ya.